Okay, good evening, everyone. I call this planning board meeting to order. First order of business would be, we don't have Murray here, do we?
We don't.
No appointments, okay. Would be approval of the draft minutes from December 2nd. Anybody have anything? No.
Nope.
Good.
Motion to approve the minutes as written.
Okay, motion and second. Carter, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Russ? I vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Minutes are approved. Invitation for public comment other than the upcoming or discussion of the upcoming public hearing. Hey, Mike. We were just inviting anybody from the public to comment if they were here for anything other than the public hearing. Okay. Good. All right. So technically, the public hearing shouldn't be for a few more minutes. There were a couple minutes. Do we want
Spike, a couple things.
to talk about?
Quickly.
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, we got a couple emails for corrections. Oh, sorry.
Oh, we probably did move it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We had a couple emails about corrections to the tax maps. The GIS maps are now available online. One was just a mislabeling. So I don't know. I think we still have a little bit of money left in the budget. We came in under for the update, so I can ask if they can get it done before the end of the year. If everyone is in agreement, or it will wait until the next round. His thoughts on that?
I mean, is there any like period of time? Because I know they asked us for some like. Just because now that it is live and people are looking at it, so do we have a period of time with them that they will do corrections as part of that?
Usually it's after the budget's approved.
After the budget's approved?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So April,
Right.
May. So it can wait until then. And
Yeah,
if we have another round.
because we may acquire a bunch. I mean.
Well, we
they're
definitely
already-
will, because we'll have Randy's.
Yeah.
And we'll have the Von Snyder who's another one, and the Beal. So there will be, those are the ones that are on the list already.
So would it be wise
So just wait.
to wait?
Sure. Yep. And then the other one, yeah. The other one was not a tax map problem. It was an issue with Avatar, which was referred to the select board.
Is was that the acreage one? Or
Yeah, that was the acreage one. Yeah. So I don't know what that was, when or where that happened.
Avatar is looking into it and they're gonna check it against the real tax maps. And
Yep, the deeds and all that. Yep, great. So those are the only two that's come in so far. There was also I don't know, what's the time? There was also the email from FEMA that came in.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at our website. I don't know if you all remember, but we used to have the preliminary maps up. And when the new website turned over, they were lost. So I reached out to Carol and asked her if she could put that back up there, maybe with some updated text and a copy of the letter that we received. The new maps won't be live until June, according to the letter.
June 10th, so it is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So we'll want to keep an eye on that next year for the flood mapping, flood insurance program.
Yeah, I read that, I guess so they're not giving us a deadline. They're just telling us when the maps are going to be out.
Yeah, that they're finalized. There's nothing we
Yeah.
need to do now, other than, in the new year, we should start talking about
Right.
a flood ordinance.
Yeah, which we had already kind of
Yeah,
had
it
on.
was already on our to-do list.
Mhm.
Yeah. So those are two quick things.
Yeah. Well, I think we're 7:05, so I guess we'll move to the hearing. All right, so I'm going to open up the public hearing for our proposed amendments to the Temple zoning ordinance. Should I give a quick?
Sure, I mean, do you wanna, yeah, do you wanna just go in order of those four groups or?
Yeah. Uh,
So that the people who are very confused with that. Yeah. We can put it up on the screen. Maybe, maybe Carter? Are you able to do that? Sure.
Do we have copies of this thing?
Printed, no. I didn't have enough toner myself.
mhm. Yep, I can give you my copy. You have one for me to.
Yeah, sure.
Mhm. Okay. So, did you?
Well, I don't know if we wanted to wait.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, this one right here. I can give you this one.
Yep,
Here,
well, that's the first group.
yeah, right?
Yep. So the first group are the ones that are being proposed because of legislative changes. The New Hampshire legislature, the Senate and the House passed a whole bunch of bills last session. And so we're making some changes to be in compliance with their new RSAs or the changes to the RSAs. And there was a lot more than what we're having to change, which is the good news. There's only, I think there's 5 or 6 here. And that they're not, yeah, some of them we took care of last year, so it wasn't too bad for us. Other towns are having to change a lot, so we were lucky that way. But the definitions for accessory dwelling unit, basically they changed the law to say that everyone is allowed to have an accessory dwelling unit by right, regardless of whether it's attached or detached, which we already have in our zoning, but they did change the definitions as a result of that change. So the first article that we're presenting is changes to the definitions for accessory dwelling unit to include the new language and 2 new definitions, one for attached and one for detached. There you go. Is there any questions on that one? This was a result of House Bill 577. And it is already in effect, by the way. This one went into effect July 1st, 2025. Okay, we can move on to the next one. The next one is off-street parking. This was Senate Bill 284. I don't know if anyone followed last year, but they had changed it to 1.5 parking spaces, but it only, right, doesn't make really much sense, but it only applied to multifamily. This last session, they changed it to 1 vehicle and it applies to every dwelling now. So ours said 2 our zoning and we're changing it to 1 to be in compliance. I doubt that anyone will build a house with only 1 space, but we are in compliance now with the law. We didn't. It's up on the screen too.
Towns that don't update to the new state laws, there's no problem, right? Unless someone overrides us.
The state would override, yeah, so we,
So, I mean, it's not like that. We're worrying if this has to be, because I think some small towns should push back against some of these state laws. I disagree with most of them, especially this one. The 2-car minimum should be set in stone, I think. Even 3, 1 is gonna cause problems in the future. we will.
It doesn't,
Maybe on Manchester?
it does require only one car, but you can still do more.
I know. Okay. We're gonna say, oh, well, parking space, but where you meant, you know, 4 parking spots, and you could have a family, a child who has a license,
Mhm.
that's 3 cars, so 2 cars on the street, 2 cars on the street here. It's gonna lead to a can of worms, and I don't think we should necessarily follow every state law.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have to follow it, but I will,
You should find that.
I will say that there are towns that are fighting back, and I believe there is a bill to change this already being presented. I don't know if it will pass. It's still early.
There is a reason for adopting these, for some of them at least, in that if we have nothing, then the state gets to say how it applies and where it applies.
So right now, we don't have them.
Well, we do,
We do.
but it's illegal. So they can come in and say your zoning doesn't comply, therefore,
People have a.
but it's not them. And they can come in and say, all right, you didn't update it. So some of these things, we can say where they're going to apply in your town, you can't limit them.
Yeah.
But we can, if we say something about it, we can limit certain things to certain areas as long as we are, what's the wording, generally in compliance or substantially in compliance or something like that. So,
I just think we're being, spot, on a small town, being spot.
Yeah, NHMA is advocating for small towns as well.
yeah. But right now, if somebody, but right now, if somebody came in and wanted to build and said, I'm only putting in 1 parking space, we can't say no.
I know, you may go to the state and find this.
Yeah, which could be expensive for us to.
Yeah, now,
Talk to our state reps.
Yes.
I just think these are, some of these solutions are, just stale,
Yeah, and I will say from what I've heard, when these were presented, did not consult with any planners or NHMA, or like they just presented things. So some of these are problematic.
Sure. There's so much, people, who are inventing it. And even some of them in bias, and you don't live in your small town, but some of these big areas, these are the big cities.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, this is one that is more applicable to the larger towns and cities. It's. Or have issues with parking lots or where the parking is located and that kind of thing, so.
Sure, someone goes say, you have that one spot in the middle, work, 4 or 3, I guess, that'd be 9 cars with only 3 spots,
Yeah, and in practice, yeah.
I just don't see a problem. I get problems, that's,
Yep, that all valid points. Mhm.
I just wanted to.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you. The next section is related to accessory dwelling units. And again, this, the first one is the parking one, that's 7A.6, changed to 1, where we had 2. Another change is they removed the requirement for an interior door to be provided between the principal dwelling unit and the accessory dwelling unit. That was removed from the RSAs. They now just require that there's egress, 2 points of egress. And then the last one you'll see, 7A.9, is related to our HOP grant work, and this was in response to questions and concerns about how many ADUs would be allowed in a PRD, because we are required by law to allow 1 per dwelling unit. That's what the law says. And we felt based on the feedback, that we could require that there's only one attached or detached, because that's what the law says, but we would say there's only one. They can't have more than one. We can talk. Sure.
Go real well. I'm trying to understand what the point of adding that in is, and what you're accomplished by seeing currently rented or this is differently from owned.
Because I think that's what it says in the RSA. Is that what you're remembering, Sarah?
It also can help deal with, if you're going with in finding.
Yeah, we should get you a microphone and for
The wireless.
yeah, sorry, I missed that.
We should grab the tool. We had it out there. The batteries aren't dead.
We're probably just gonna ask you to repeat that, Sarah, if you don't mind. Yeah. I have the H.
Okay, fine, well.
Who's that?
So 789 reads accessory dwelling unit shall not be allowed in a PRD with multiple single-family dwellings attached to each other, such as townhouses, and what we're proposing is, it to say rented or leased land. A maximum of one accessory dwelling unit attached or detached shall be permitted per detached single-family dwelling within a PRD. So
So the rented or leased land provision, I believe did come straight out of the RSA. And as they took the manufactured housing piece out, they replaced it with that. And it's meant to deal with condominium associations or potentially manufactured home parks without calling out any specific type of development, just in cases where the land is not owned, where the detached dwelling unit is. Does that answer your question?
That explanation is far more clear than what's written up there, and I wonder if we could make that more clear before it gets on the ballot. I mean, obviously complying with the language from the statute, but actually making it clear that the rented or leased land goes to the ADU, that's what it's being talked about, because that's not clear. The way I was reading it, which was a little difficult, it made it sound like the multiple single-family dwellings were on rented or leased land. And so if there was a way just to make sure that that was more clear.
Just replacing the and with an or, such as townhouses or with rented or leased land. Because then it separates them as something different and they're not. Because I see what you're saying with the and. So it sounds like townhouses with rented land. Now that's the confusion you're saying?
Right. I was reading it as if the townhouse was on rented land.
Right.
Whereas the explanation that we just got was that no, it's the ADU would be on rented or leased land. So I think if it's the secondary thing.
It's ADU or. It means the primary dwelling. The primary.
Yes.
Okay.
Such as townhouses and cities.
And it wouldn't really make sense to have the house not being rented land and the ADU somehow on rented land. That I can't imagine how that would happen even. But yes, the intent is the primary dwelling cannot be on rented or leased land.
which thus the accessory would also
End up being.
end up being on
Yeah.
non-rented or leased land as well.
So does that mean that the condominiums are perceived to be on rented or leased land, even if they are owned by a single person?
That's how condominiumized works. Yes, there's. In a condominium, in the typical sense, you own inside the walls. You don't own outside the walls. So the land is owned by the condominium association and you rent the land that your condominium is on. Or lease it.
So it seems like it would be pretty unlikely that someone who had a condominium would say, I'm gonna build an ADU outside my because
Right.
you wouldn't be allowed to.
Yeah.
But it covers it there, just in case.
So we'll work on rewording that.
Hmm.
And then, good on that one. And then on to the detached. It's, same with the parking, 7B.6. And then 7B.9, it's the same issue with PRDs. We have to allow them in a PRD. But we are saying a maximum of 1 attached or detached is permitted per single family dwelling within a PRD. And they are not permitted in PRDs with multiple single family dwellings attached to each other, such as townhouses and with rented or leased land. So is that more clear than the first? No, that needs to be reworded too. Okay. Then the next one is in response to Senate Bill 188. They presented a bill that is meant to streamline the process of getting projects approved. Again, this is one that probably applies to bigger towns rather than our small town, but they are basically saying that in addition to a code enforcement officer, an approved agency pursuant to RSA 155A:7-A can also carry out inspections. And there's multiple places in that paragraph where we have to add or an approved agency pursuant to RSA 155. There are requirements for those approved agencies to qualify for this designation. There's a whole process which falls under the duty of the select board, not on the planning board, but we have to change our zoning to allow an approved agency. Any questions on that one? Comment from the select board? Nope.
We have to do it.
And then the last one is a really simple one. It's under administration. They moved the RSAs that were in 674-51 to RSA 155A. That's the building code section of the laws. And so we're just changing the reference.
Well, actually, going back to the previous one, I will make a comment. They call out code enforcement officer, and it has a particular meaning, and we don't have one.
Well, it's designated, or
So it's gonna have.
you guys refer it to you designate Will Wilds as
Yes, but he is not
he's a building inspector,
right.
right?
So we do not have the official defined position of code enforcement officer, but we'll ignore that.
Yeah. Well, it's the select board when
Right.
there isn't one.
Right. No, not necessarily.
So those are the legislative changes.
Okay. And then we have changes to our PRD, planned residential development, and also to our workforce housing. And we also have a proposed solar energy zoning ordinance as well. So do we want to do one at a time? Start with the PRD?
Sure.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to kick it off or? That's what I was using. That was, if that's helpful. Good. So in the purpose section, there's language added. This came out of feedback from the first round of HOP grant, community feedback, and it was with an emphasis on protecting natural resources. So a lot of what you see in here is related to that. kind of just reading through it quickly. Yeah, reduction of impervious surfaces, protecting wildlife corridors, habitat connectivity, ecological functions. There is the housing that meets the needs of the local workforce. That's number 6. Any questions on the changes in the purpose? And others can jump in at any time.
So I would think that, substantive changes that people may want to know about or discuss would probably be when we get to standards and criteria.
Mhm.
So our language we have now is up to 6 units, and we would change that to just to be up to 5 to be in line with the state. Right?
Yep. And that's only for workforce housing. So for a regular PRD, it would be 3. And we have to allow condominiums per RSA 356-B. So that's another change. That's A3.
Yeah, that wasn't something we came up with. That was something that was brought to us through work with Sarah. That we were in compliance with offering condominium ownership here in our zoning in Temple.
Yep. So the 5 units, as I said, applies to workforce housing, and the 3 dwelling units has to be 1,200 square feet of gross floor area per unit. So the idea is that they would look like a single family home to fit in with the landscape with Temple. Any questions on
And the
that?
hope would be that it would be affordable.
There are no
Being 1,200 square feet.
yes, but there are no income restrictions on that one versus in workforce housing where there is a requirement there.
Places, I think, they go both in stuff, and then I noticed where you put in abbreviations without saying it somewhere else. So if the very end of the screen, you know, reading one very often, one that says PRD. So either writing that out or just adding someone.
Sure.
I think there was an each way.
Yep, I'll take a look. Okay. That's great.
So then.
Number 4. Yep. This addresses the base density. Okay. So what we found was that with traditional subdivision versus a PRD, actually you were getting less units because with a PRD, you have to remove land that is undevelopable. So this is to encourage people to do PRDs so that more land would go into conservation. And the houses would be closer together in this case. So that's why we're just trying to line those up. So to incentivize or to make it more appealing to do a PRD, which would result in more land being in conservation. And it's still, the soil would have to be able to support it. There's still the other requirements, setbacks, etc. And so there's an explanation on the base density calculation. And this refers to a yield plan, which, so we would review a plan, a traditional subdivision plan, and then compare it to the PRD plan, so that we can calculate how many units would be appropriate.
And that would be an increase for what we have now.
Go ahead. That requirement to applicants. How much more in fees are they looking at?
It's not a lot because what you need to do to create the PID plan, you're gonna do that anyways. And so basically the drafting exercise, taking the zoning and, you know, a couple hours to say, okay, what could I do if I just did regular frontage lots or a road, and you're calculating those areas that come out, the wetlands that come out, and it's okay, so I'm getting 4 lots. And then that gives you the base density and you get your bonus, but it's negligible. I mean, you can rip through a bunch of those pretty quick.
So yeah, would really be required to put a bunch more money into the application.
I don't think so. Yeah, it's something, and it's kind of do that anyways, lots of times, just trying to make it in the subdivision, trying to make a concept of, well, what can I do here? So you try all these different variables, and this is just actually presenting, here it is, and this is my yield plan. This is one of the variables that we could have done. You're still gonna survey, you're still gonna do the wetland, you're still gonna do test bits, whatever else you have to do anyways, so it would be the same cost. I think it would.
Yeah, and I went to the New Ipswich one where they had a cluster development they were reviewing the yield plan for, and it was a really helpful tool for the planning board to figure out what was appropriate versus whether the property owner was, was sort of including land that really shouldn't have been included.
And I think it benefits the landowner too. I
Yeah.
did one where it's the same thing. You do the yield plan and you say, well, here's what you can get, but it's gonna cost this much money to build a road and do everything else before you could conserve some money. And so in the end, I think they realize the benefit, because I would think there's a cost savings just by doing the PRD versus building a road and doing a conventional subdivision.
Yeah, but they're all legal costs for in a PRD of an HOA. There is that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would cost, but. I was just trying to think of things that would cost more doing. Obviously, the benefit of having more open space. As far as for neighbors and for the town as a whole.
And less road frontage required.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest cost. I'm saying that the example I was just using. The yield plan had 2,500 feet of road, whereas the cluster subdivision has 1,400 feet of road. So there's 1,100 feet of road. What was it? It's
Like $5 a foot.
$500.
Sorry, yeah.
Your foot.
Yeah.
So there's a huge savings. I mean, and probably 5 hours to come up with a whole bunch of yield plans on AutoCAD, $500. So I think the savings, it's a negligible cost, really. And on my office, it would be a negligible cost. We just whip it out quick.
So the next part is sorry.
That answers your question.
The next part is density calculation. We're talking about density bonuses. We are putting a cap on the density bonus on the bonuses at 50% is what we're proposing. So they could do one of these, they could do a combination of them, but it wouldn't go over 50% bonus. So there's a workforce housing bonus. So if they include 20% of the total units as workforce housing, then they could get a bonus, one additional dwelling. Let's see, but it wouldn't exceed 25%. And if they do small units, for every 2 units of 1,200 square feet or less of viewed living space, 1 unit is allowed. And then for low impact development, which would be things that are like less impervious surface or rain gardens, so stormwater protections, those kinds of things, then they would get an additional bonus.
And wouldn't that be like shared septic and wells too, as well?
We removed that one
We-
based on the community
Feedback.
feedback. There were concerns about, yeah,
Right.
shared,
It's not a-
so we did not include that. Let's see. Yep. So those are the density bonuses. Any questions on those? Okay. Yep, this is the one in response to an application we had this year for a PRD. And we discovered that we had some language in here we didn't need. So this is a correction. That we are not requiring a separate document for a road waiver. It just needs to be on the plan. And in the HOA documents.
But we need to.
Oh, that's the HOA.
Oh,
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. The next one. It's just a little cleanup, open space areas, subject to the following provisions. And we're asking that to the greatest extent possible, contiguous areas should prioritize the preservation of natural and historic features of the property. We heard a lot of feedback about stone walls, protecting stone walls, wildlife corridors, stream buffers, forested areas, and other ecologically sensitive resources. So this is just again about protecting natural resources. And there's just some cleanup in the rest of that section. We had a question about the timber harvesting, letter G. I looked at the UNH cooperative extension and that good timber stand is actually in there, but it is part of the broader best management practices. So I think having best management practice should cover. Then let's see on the last page. It's just a little bit more cleanup clarification that this is reviewed during the subdivision application review. And all health and safety requirements within the subdivision apply to PRDs. And then we added language under procedure. We had consulted with the fire chief and the road agent earlier this year and just added some language to allow us to talk to the fire chief. Not that we couldn't before, but this is just making it official that we would consult with the fire chief and the road agent and the health officer during the review process. Sorry? Oh, yeah. Yep. I'll do a search. And that was it for PRD.
So the next section would be proposed changes to workforce housing.
So anybody want to take this one? Should I keep going?
You're on a roll.
No volunteers, huh? Yeah, thanks. So some of this in the purpose and authority section is just some cleanup. It's language that we didn't need to include per our legal advice. So we're proposing removing it and just referring to the workforce housing RSAs. Workforce housing is approved through a conditional use permit through RSA 67421, Roman numeral 2. Let's see. So So we're proposing on land next to the elementary school, a workforce housing overlay district. It is one lot that's currently owned by the town. This came out of, well, it was the charrette. And then when we consulted with the road agent earlier this year about where it might be appropriate to do an overlay, he noted that on Route 45 or 101 would be the best areas for that because of the road and the traffic. So, and it wouldn't be too much use or overuse on some of our smaller roads. So we looked at that lot because it is town owned. And that's what we're proposing there. There wouldn't mean that there's anything currently planned for that lot. It just allows a workforce housing development outside of a PRD, but only on that one particular lot.
Well, yeah, that is it in a nutshell. Workforce housing is only allowed in PRDs unless it be designated overlay district.
Right.
So this is one I had a little bit of an issue with because when you had the forum, this was talked about and it seemed like it was unnecessary at this point. And I thought the feedback in the room at that point was there wasn't a lot of support for just creating an overlay district to create an overlay district. And then you take out one of the main features of our PRD ordinance, which is preserving the open space. And then you're just completely doing away with that for a project that we have no idea if it will ever come to town or if it's needed in town. And I've heard it said a few times tonight that you took feedback from the earlier forums and you created this plan based on that feedback. So this was an area where I felt there was a lot of disconnect because when the room that I was in, it felt like there wasn't support for this. And I tried to go back through the minutes where you guys would discuss this. I don't have time to watch your videos, but I couldn't really find any discussion on what prompted this particular change amongst the board members. So if you could speak to that a little bit, I would appreciate it.
So the forum that we had after the one that you attended, they were in support of this. So that was, we kind of went back and forth and weighed and looked at conversations we'd had with residents outside of forums. And that's kind of why we're like, let's bring it forward and then see if we get more feedback at these hearings. So it's just to try to get information from more people. And unfortunately, you're the only person here. So it's hard for us to say how the broader community feels, but there was mixed opinions on this lot. On the second forum, I think people were like, oh, that's the perfect place for this. But
I
we don't really
appreciate,
know.
yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I would still be very concerned about bringing this forward in a year where there's a ton of changes and this is just going to get overlooked. I feel people aren't going to really pull this out in a sea of other changes that if it's really sort of, 50-50 split, really publicize that and put it into a year where that's something you're engaging the public with specifically and not just throwing it in with a bunch of other stuff. So my request as a citizen of this town would be to table this particular one until next year and do some more concrete work just on this piece as opposed to offering it with a lot of other changes.
Any other questions, comments on that from the board?
Well, it could be turned into a PRD anyway under the standard PRD rules. So this is really pretty innocuous. And also the select board could sell the parcel of land. We have the authority to just up and sell it if we feel like it.
And then we have no control
against
over
that.
what happens.
We have no control over what happens. If it's in this, then there is control over what happens.
And I think on the 50-50 kind of side, where you're weighing this, bringing it full is the right answer, right? From my perspective anyways. If I have, I don't have anything swaying one way or another, then I'm tending to leave it in for the people for discussion here, discussion at the next one if we have another one, and then potentially to vote. I'm not saying it's staying to vote, but that's my answer to that, is that if I have, kind of, uncertainty, then I bias towards leaving it in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what Nicole is saying, and I did not attend the second forum that we had. I attended the first one, where there was strong opposition to doing this. And I don't think it's something that needs to be rushed necessarily either. So I'm not sure it matters if it's tabled for another year. I don't think that this is going to happen very quickly, but it certainly wouldn't hurt to have more people weigh in on that, because I'm not sure we've had a broad. I'm not sure if people in town are aware of this necessarily, even though we certainly try to put all the information out there, but there is a lot of information to go through. So I can see Nicole's point that
Yep.
maybe it's lost in a shuffle. And that maybe we should consider waiting on that.
I agree. I
I
agree
agree.
with everything you just said. Right up until the very last part, maybe we should consider that. But I, just for clarification, my take on the first hearing was there was a couple of vocal people against this proposal, and one of them happened to be the abutter that lived across the
Right.
street, so that's understandable.
Mhm.
And then I think there was one other gentleman that was very vocal, but I don't remember the core assembly being against it. It was just a few loud people, and obviously one of them being the abutter, so. But that being said,
But either way, we don't have a large subset of the town weighing in on this necessarily. It's a few people that have spoken up, right?
But like I
So-
said, I agree with like everything you said.
So
So, maybe we should think about this.
Yeah, I really don't care on this either. It can stay in, it can go out. I think it does offer some protections we will not have if we take it out, but
Yeah,
it's not happen anyways.
any project would have to go through the normal process too. It's not like, and we're saying any of this would be rubber stamped.
Yeah,
Just by putting this in.
Yeah.
just to clarify, I wasn't saying that I was for leaving it in. I believe, I agree with everybody on the table and you, that if, my point was that it should stay on the table until we had enough feedback. And then a decision could be made. So, and this could be that, this is that feedback, right? This forum, this meeting. So I'm perfectly okay with tabling it as well.
I mean, the question is, are we, by creating this overlay on town-owned land, how does this work moving forward if we did do this? Are we gonna create a housing authority? Are we now becoming builders? Or, who's gonna build that? Who's gonna build the potential housing in there? Is it gonna be a builder? Are they gonna buy the land, or are we gonna sell off?
Are we lease the land?
Yeah.
Are we going to?
So there's a lot more to it.
There's yeah,
Complicated.
it's nothing that happens right away. It's
Yeah.
nothing that happens fast.
So that, for that reason, I think I could see pushback,
Yeah,
possibly.
we probably don't want to define all that stuff though, because we have no idea in the future how it would be used. But in any case, what would happen if this passes is something was planned, would have to get approved anyway.
Years worth of.
Yeah,
work
approval
involved.
and messing around and
Mhm.
have to go to a town vote.
So Bill, don't you see it as a problem though, that if this were to go on the ballot and it gets passed, we've created an overlay district with no management procedures for it at all?
Right.
So it just feels like this is premature also.
Yeah. Take it out. I don't think we're gonna take it out tonight, but we could certainly take it
Oh,
out.
we can. I
We
mean,
could, yeah. Or we have, well, it depends. We're having another forum. It should get discussed at that forum too.
Correct. I mean, from the very beginning, it seemed like we looked at where could we do overlay?
mhm.
And that just seemed to be the perfect spot
Mhm.
because it was next to the school where you could do affordable housing where there'd be children. It just.
Or
so it-
teacher.
Or teachers or, right, yep, exactly. So it just seemed to be, if we were going to do one, the perfect spot. But you may be right, maybe maybe it needs more work.
Yeah, and it could be brought up any time again. Of course, would have to be voted on again, so there could be a year or year and a half delay if we actually wanted to do it, but no big deal, I don't think.
I think that's the biggest change in the workforce housing. There was a change, I'm looking at page 3 now, number 4 on that page, related to appeals. And this was a change that was recommended by our legal counsel. Same with, the correction under F and the definition for reasonable and realistic opportunities for the development of workforce housing. Just some cleanup. Let's see. Then there was the addition under workforce housing owner occupied. Again, this is a recommendation from legal, which I believe comes out of the state definition. On to page 5. This is
Did you
under,
talk about the 20%?
yeah, that was in the definition. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I was, condominium ownership is what I was moving on to.
Okay.
Again, this is so that we're in compliance. Oh, and the one before it says 5, multifamily housing up to 5 units. Currently, our zoning says 6, and we were reducing that to 5 to be in line with the state statute. We can allow more if we want, but we were trying to be consistent. And then the condominium ownership language. We're required to offer. Then the last change in the workforce housing is under administration. Number 4. We just cited the RSA that relates to sort of what you were referring to, some of the management related to workforce housing, which we would have to do regardless of whether it's an overlay or not. It is the planning board that is responsible for that oversight. Although we could outsource it. But so that just cites the RSA with the language that applies to that.
So the monitoring authority would be,
The planning board, and yes, but we can outsource it.
Okay.
So we would have to contract with somebody to do that for us if somebody brought a project forward. That's it for workforce housing.
okay,
Anything that you wanted to add, Sarah, or we covered? Thanks. Should have introduced you maybe before.
and then finally, our last proposal is a solar energy system zoning ordinance.
I guess I have this one.
Oh, okay.
We'll work together.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Do you want the latest, the draft 7, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Please.
so, yeah, you want to do the introduction?
Also, we had an opportunity earlier in the year to work with SoSmart, which is a national organization that's led by the Interstate Renewable Energy Council and the International City County Management Association, and funded by Department of Energy, Solar Energy Technology Office. So it basically was a cohort that we participated in to work with the community to help better define and potentially improve it. Well, there are 2 key parts to their program, and the first one is technical assistance. So they offer technical assistance in understanding the solar arena. And then secondly, they actually do a community assessment essentially, and offer a recognition depending on your participation as a community. So we participated in the cohort. We went through the forums and took a look at our zoning ordinance and our checklists, et cetera, and developed an approved, or hopefully improved, ordinance to put forward to the community. You want to add anything to that? Is that?
No, I would just say that it was at no cost to the town.
That's very important. Yes, it was at no cost.
Which was really key.
Yes, and they continue to offer us technical assistance. So
Correct.
I think one of the biggest things is if someone in the community wants to put solar in their house and they want to hire a company to do that, they can take that contract or that proposal and run it through this organization, and they'll help look for any gotchas or catches or, you know, things that you might not want to go forward with. So it could offer some protection there. So as an outcome of that, our original solar checklist is just that, a checklist, basically. And Steve did most of the work here, marrying the two together. And so we have the ordinance, which has up there. One of the important parts of this ordinance is it's got lots of definitions, lots of better understanding and I want to say definitions again. Anyways, much improved, provides more information right up front to our community. I don't know this is essentially a whole new item. Do we
It
want to
is
go through
a
the whole
brand
thing?
new ordinance, so the select board had been using a solar permitting checklist. Which we, at the recommendation from the Soul Smart, they worked with Clean Energy New Hampshire team, made some recommendations to the checklist just as a starting point, and we ran it through legal review, and they said, you don't have a solar ordinance, so you don't allow solar, which of course we have a lot of people in town that have solar panels, so we said, oh, well, we better develop an ordinance then to go with that. And the Soul Smart team gave us a model ordinance to start with, and we adapted it for the town of Temple. We sent it to the Conservation Commission for input, to the Historic District Commission for input, and the Renewable Energy Task Force. So
A collaboration.
a collaboration for sure. And the version that was posted had not been through legal review yet. I sent it to them well in advance, and it didn't come back until after at the posting for this hearing. So there will be some changes that were not in the version that were posted, but we can look at them tonight and go through those. So that's kind of why, I said to Jim, there were a lot of moving pieces after this, so we'll kind of work together. So so this is all brand new, but I'll just maybe highlight some of the changes, and then if you want to add anything, jump in.
Sure.
She recommended removing this all solar under applicability. It's on the first page. Yep. Anything on municipal land is exempt, so she said we don't need to include this. There's also the foot for that will come out as well.
Page 3.
Yeah. Let's see. So there wasn't, if anybody has questions, I don't want to go through this quickly, but if you have, please.
I'm just curious why we would have a completely separate solar zoning ordinance, why the solar wouldn't be included in the current zoning ordinance, because I'm always thinking back to how our laws and regulations need to be understood by all of the citizens. So if we have a zoning ordinance that has a whole bunch of other stuff in it, and new person moves to town, they look at it, say, oh, there's nothing about solar, so I can do whatever I want, not knowing necessarily that they have to go find a secondary document. Wouldn't it just be easier and more beneficial to everyone to have one zoning ordinance altogether?
The short answer is yes, but we do have other ordinances that are separate, like the driveway regulations is one. So
And I
I
think
don't think-
there's the permitting process for solar that we have. So I think because that's separate, that maybe that ties in more specifically with having its own document, similar to the driveways, but I mean, maybe putting it all into one. We haven't talked.
we
about
haven't
that,
talked
so
about
we
it
should talk.
specifically, no.
So
I know it sounds kind of nitpicky, but I would just say either include it with the rest of the zoning ordinance, or maybe title it something different that doesn't say zoning ordinance in it. Maybe it's, solar regulations or
right.
something to align more with what we already have in town.
I'm pretty sure we could just take all these individual documents and combine them into one without it going to a meeting for vote.
Yes.
Yes, it's just,
To add it to our
to our current
Just
zoning.
make
70-something
document
page
with-
zoning.
Yeah. we can
Yeah.
Anytime we want.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like I kind of missed this. I'm with Nicole on this, I think. I don't see the reason why it wouldn't be part of the large document.
Well, I'll argue the other way. I
Yeah.
mean, huge document like that, no one's gonna look through it all.
yeah.
And
that-
it's nice, I'm saying,
Yeah.
can I do solar? You go to the website, there's, oh, look, solar ordinance right
Uh-huh.
there. Okay, that's my counter
Well, we
argument.
have small wind, large wind, and
Right.
excavation, site plan for a large excavation, and those are all lengthy documents in our zoning.
Yeah, that's true.
And you're right, it's,
Could argue that they should be split out, but I mean, I'm just taking the other side here. But that's
Yeah.
personally, that's what I would like to see. I'm looking for something in specific. I don't want to have to go through a 500-page document trying to
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah, but again, we should be consistent with what we already have, even though it is.
It's inconsistent already, I think
Yeah.
is the
Yeah,
issue.
but we don't need to do it, so.
Yeah, and different towns do it different ways. There isn't one recommended way to do it. It's just, I mean, yeah,
Maybe a reference.
I was thinking that too.
yeah,
I've got, you know, an index or something.
Zoning, see this?
Content says for solar.
Oh, yes, right up
Refer
front.
refer to.
This is a lengthy document, it's kind of its own standing thing,
hmm
and it is difficult to read through.
At a minimum, reference it, at a
Yeah,
minimum,
minimum.
yeah.
Right, if the
Yeah, and-
primary zoning had on the first page a list of, here's these other things, if you're looking for those, go there, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But I think also is that I think solar and frankly, other energy type of resource things are gonna grow and become more relevant than they are today. 28% for the nation right now, a year,
it's,
annual growth
growing.
in solar.
Yeah,
So it's crazy growth the way it is right now. So I think it's gonna get larger if nothing else.
mhm.
There's how much, how the tariffs are on the solar panels.
Yeah. I think at a minimum, Russ is
And-
spot on.
And solar's getting cheaper.
Reference it in the zoning, or main zoning document.
If I may
We can
just,
ask
something
for a legal
to-
recommendation.
Yes, I agree. But is that something as a planning board, we can vote?
Yeah.
If this passes, we can vote to do that without, that's not a vote of,
No, it's just the board
Yeah.
saying, we're just stick these documents together and
Yeah.
we haven't changed the zoning, we just repackaged it.
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
2
we-
years ago you had something that allowed you to make
To reorganize.
like Scrivener's
Yep. Yep.
changes
Absolutely.
without problem. And I would just say that I think it's less likely to have new people miss something if you have one large document and you can go into it and you can search for the terms that you're looking for, as opposed to not knowing that you need to look in 7 different places for different regulations. But also, I still have, when I have time, in the back of my mind to bring a proposal to the select board to revamp the website to make all of this easier, because
I was
where I came from, it was so much easier to find
Just
what
gonna-
you needed.
just gonna say the same thing. I think it's the town of Wilton maybe I think they have one document, but then on their, like, they have a table of contents on the side, so you can
Yeah,
just
that-
pick
That would be useful.
the sections that you want.
Yeah, and they're hyperlink. I don't know about Wilton, but where I came from, that
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
linked
yeah.
to each section, so you just click the hyperlink
Well,
to
it
take
takes
you
the
to the
money,
section.
they're willing to do whatever.
Dare to dream.
Good.
Okay, so do we want to jump back in? Any other questions on the content?
In a particular place.
I think the next piece would be
Yeah, so-
table of,
The table of uses?
Table of uses per.
Yeah.
something.
Yep.
There's no change.
There's no changes on that from the version that was put out to the public. This again was with input from the Historic District Commission and Conservation Commission. Both gave some good feedback on that. Then there's, what's in red was more from legal review. Do you have the red version? Yep. Roof-mounted solar energy systems, ground-mounted solar energy systems in the Historic District require Historic District Commission approval prior to the issuance of a permit. So that was one recommendation, which, where it says correct, that comment is from Lillian LaBelle, who's the chair of the Historic District Commission. And then the next section about solar carports, they asked about the Historic District Commission, if that would require approval by them. for those kinds of things, solar carports and electric vehicle charging equipment. And so her comment was, it depends on where it's located, which to me sounds like they would like Historic District Commission approval before. So we have some options on how we change the wording here. I think I gave her a couple suggestions and asked for her feedback, but she did not respond, so. Go through. Nope. Then, yeah. So we could say solar carports and associated electric vehicle charging equipment are permitted accessory use on surface parking lots in the village district, rural residential and agricultural district, and the mountain district, period. And then say solar carports and associated vehicle charging equipment in the historic district requires approval from the Historic District Commission. So that's one option. Or we could piggyback on the previous paragraph about the roof mounted solar and just say that roof mounted solar energy systems, ground mounted solar energy systems, and solar carports and associated vehicle charging equipment proposed in the historic district require Historic District Commission. So combining. And then saying solar carports and associated electric vehicle charging equipment are permitted accessory use on surface parking lots in all other districts. So I don't know, anybody has preference?
My feeling is if they have not commented, then it stays as it is.
No, they commented that they wanted
Yes,
it
but they
to,
haven't actually,
but they didn't choose
Right.
how we correct it or
Yeah.
how we write it.
then I would say we choose to leave it as it is, but that's just me. I mean, I just think if they want it changed, they should make the effort to pick one.
I think Christine, the second
Right.
one that you went through made more sense to me, but
So to combine it with the roof mounted,
If we're gonna do it,
Paragraph.
that makes the most sense.
Yep. Agreed.
okay. Yep, and then the next one is just clarification. Solar energy systems that do not meet the following design standards require a special exception from the zoning board of adjustment,
Mhm.
unless they're in the historic district first. And
I
then
believe
they still need,
Got a comment on number 4, lot coverage. Exempt from lot coverage on impervious blah, 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 if the area under the system contains vegetative ground cover or crushed stone. She points out is if it's under the array, how does having a permeable surface under the array make any difference? Because the rain doesn't go through the array, it goes off the end of the array. But that's just an observation.
I don't-
part.
so there was a conservation commission comment and then feedback. Yep. And then there was also feedback from UNH Cooperative Extension. Did I send that one? Yeah, that went out to everybody as well. Yep. So the crushed stone question that's under, yeah, A, number 4A. It was kind of unclear how we should address this. There was mixed opinions. And not a lot of consistency. So I think generally, I liked Kathy's suggestion.
Well, just to do best management.
Yeah, just refer to the best management practices from the UNH Stormwater Center. I scoured DES, I scoured websites looking at stormwater, and there was just nothing consistent or clear. So that was my,
I agree with Kathy 100%.
just keep it
Everybody else is trying to figure out if it's 1 inch or 2 inches stone. They're all trying to be
And-
engineers.
slow.
That's not even a
and
question.
it's
Someone's
not-
already figured this out.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
The point was, it doesn't rain under the array. So why do you need drainage under the array?
Yeah.
And then, yeah,
But anyway, that's a minor point. It is interesting though.
that could become significant if you get to very large arrays.
Yeah, and they're
But
saying, we're under the middle of this array, it's 100 yards wide, there's no rain here.
Yeah, I think it was more about the slope though, because things could, yeah, but it's all gonna
The
go.
requirement should be drainage at the end of the
Right.
array, but
Right.
we're not gonna get into that.
If you had like an acre of arrays, then you'd have the drainage along those, each array,
Right.
and that could become a significant runoff problem.
Yeah,
If
they
it's
put
not, you know what I mean?
ditches.
But, so you gotta be able to deal with it.
Yeah, pretty sure 25-degree slope on the side of Temple Mountain. 2 inches of 1 inch of crushed stone isn't gonna do the job.
No,
Yeah.
it's gonna wash
So,
away the house.
so, right, so your New Hampshire cooperatives, they're gonna know that you need 3 inch minor riprap and all these different, they're gonna know how to do this, and so I like.
Okay.
Yeah,
Kathy's
I did too.
recommendation.
And we don't have to worry about it.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah,
And it may change over time, so then you don't have to worry.
but
Yeah.
I think we should. Do we need to vote on that, or we just all agree?
Well, maybe, we could vote on all of them as a whole.
At the end?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything controversial but we can discuss that at the end. Let's see, so the next is B, submission requirements. This was, excluding general maintenance and repair. That was from our legal review. Let's see. And these are, by the way, these are all for residential use. This is just some more cleanup of the language. There was some repetition. And then we move on to the ground-mounted solar energy systems primary use. So this would be commercial. All of this next section. So this is not for residential use.
Should it say commercial there, or?
I had it there and I think that it was removed because it's just primary use. And as opposed to an accessory use, and the review by the clean energy team said, well, if it's a solar array that's servicing a house, it's accessory use. If it's not servicing a house, then it's primary use.
So should we have that definition somewhere?
Is it in the other earlier
I think it's in the beginning,
beginning?
yeah, in the definition section.
Yeah,
So should it say it again here? As well?
good. Yeah. Yeah, it just says can either be accessory or primary uses, so it doesn't really define it, so
Yeah.
good.
But. Well, yeah, so we gotta define it. Producing energy in excess of 120% of the single house
Right,
use.
yeah.
Something like that.
Then you go in commercial, that's in there.
Mhm. So her suggestion was to move this whole section to the site plan review regulations. Everything that applies here, because it would be commercial use.
Right, all of B.
Yep, all of B. And then there were some other recommendations here. Well, there's the crushed stone thing, there's under stormwater management.
I guess can I go back?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
now we're getting back to the whole zoning package. Should this document be in the zoning package? So now we're gonna take part of this possibly for her recommendation,
Potentially, yeah.
and potentially and put it. I just, would you just reference site plan review, just reference, like they reference each other to? I don't, I just.
If you
doesn't
break
seem-
this all and put it in different places, that's worse than you have.
Yeah, and I was working on the annual report earlier today, and we had that conversation about large scale and industrial and utility. And that's all in the site plan review right now. So wherever we keep this, we just have to make sure we're consistent in our site plan review regulations. So if we keep it where it is, we need to cross-reference.
Mm. Or maybe it does make more sense to move it then. I don't know.
So this is B, right? The first.
Yeah.
one.
Yep,
That kind of-
right. Right.
I mean, I guess I understand. I mean, lawyers aren't always
Right.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's actually illegally, something we legally are required to do. It's just her suggestion.
It's just her, yeah, just a recommendation. Yeah.
What would happen? To improve everybody, whereas what you have in the site plan review site plan regulations, you guys control that.
Right.
But those regulations though are voted on, are part of the zoning and they're voted on.
Why don't we look at some of the other content? And maybe that will help us. Remember why I highlighted that. Yep. Maybe just because of the crushed stone. Oh, I know, because of the ground mounted, it refers to the stormwater management that's in our site plan review regulations. And we just need to make sure that we're consistent between the two.
Mhm.
So that was another fuzzy area. Requirements for ground mounted primary solar energy systems, number 1, letter A. It says very clearly they require a special exception from the zoning board because they would be commercial, and then site plan review. And this is again where she's recommending, shouldn't this be in site plan review? And then she said, ground mounted solar energy systems will require a solar permit. But if we're already going through all of that other work, do we still need a solar permit if they're already going through site plan review and getting approval?
Hmm.
It seems like
Seems
excessive.
Redundant, yeah.
Yep.
With a new development, new housing development.
Yeah, it's only for a building permit.
Like a building permit.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
get one permit for it. So yes, there's no reason to have a separate. If we're approving some big solar farm as a project, there's no reason to have a separate solar permit. It would just be part of the permitting for that project. I think that's what you're saying here.
Is it a building permit or is it a solar permit?
Without getting the selectmen, the building permit from the select.
I think I'm misunderstanding where we're going here.
What? With a big project, they get a building permit.
That go to planning board, commercial project like this, go to
Right.
planning board, then they get a building permit.
Right.
So
So
why
there's
do
still
they
a-
need a separate solar permit? Why couldn't it just be, I'm not saying it couldn't, I'm just saying, why would it make sense to have an additional permit? Since they're already getting approval for the project as a whole.
So are you saying they'd get a building permit and a solar
No, I'm
permit?
saying they would get just a building permit.
They would just get a building permit.
Right. That would reference the site plan approval, which would be for solar. I don't really care one way or the other.
I think the only thing I would say is potentially missing.
Some detail.
Something tailored to solar.
Something specific.
Yeah, if you follow just the site plan, you're not, focused on the solar piece of it. Like storage, battery storage, et cetera. We're talking about large.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be going through a separate approval process just for the solar
Yeah.
permit. That would be part of the whole thing. So basically, they're getting one approval
Yeah.
from the planning board.
Yeah.
And then they have 2 permits.
I'm
Okay.
all for making it easier. I'm
That's
just,
okay. I don't care if
yeah.
there's 2 permits, but the select board, what are they gonna do with 2 permits? They're gonna have to go back and say, oh, all right, gotta do this checklist and check all these. And this one, I check all those. I don't care.
Yeah. Interesting.
But as,
The intent is not so much to require a permit, but to define what on-site plan you show.
yes,
So underneath, all the little letters, the facility area, total acreage, that's all the stuff from the on-site.
Mhm.
So I think they're trying to identify what, when you go to for site plan approval, these are the things that should be on that plan. But I don't think maybe solar permit is necessarily what they're intending. They're saying that what's on the site plan. But it doesn't, you're right, it doesn't make sense to have a separate solar permit if you're getting site plan approval for a solar.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Either that, or if you're getting approval for a solar project, there's not a building permit, there's just a solar permit. But then we've got two different permits, so.
So where do we go from here on that?
It's not likely to come up anytime that I care about it.
Well, we should make a decision.
Yeah.
Why don't we scratch the part, says, where it says, will require a solar permit that includes, we'll say, will require a site plan.
A detailed site plan,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm fine with that.
This is the section where, sorry, I moved on to the next page, page 10, in my version. Yep, stormwater. Where she said this contradicts the section in the resident accessory use stormwater reference. So it should be the same. Excluding the, well, I guess it does have the DOT, sorry, New Hampshire DES AOT
Yep.
permit language in the first one, so just should be consistent between the two.
DOT refers to.
Alteration of terrain.
Okay, should that be another
Definition.
Yeah,
It's defined for.
It's defined a little too.
let's see, then down under emergency response, letter A, just change that to site plan review from permit.
Yep.
And then the last one, the town of Temple may require the posting of a bond or letter. Again, this is for commercial, not for resident. So I think that was the Concom's comment. And she said it should be shall. It's not a optional. Either it is or it isn't. And that's for decommissioning.
And the rest is just the application.
And then on the application, there were a couple typos. Thank you, Concom, for catching those. I think legal caught a couple as well.
Oh, it's-
Yeah, yeah. But otherwise, and then I did reformat. I think that was one of the comments too. There was a question that sort of started on the top line and then finished on the next line, but across the page. So I got that all into one box. So that's more clear. Otherwise, the content didn't really change. So, yep, so we can, or we can wait until the January meeting if we want to think about stuff, or we can do some and now and some later.
Yeah, but do we want to make the edits that we did
Yeah,
tonight?
yep,
We, you know, we didn't really vote, but we didn't have any objection to any of the
no,
subtle changes that we made. So,
yeah, it was mostly in the solar, other than removing the overlay and which we didn't vote on. Which we probably should,
yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a second hearing.
yes.
I would say we.
So I,
Only difference
like,
between
the
this
difference
hearing-
is, yeah, am I gonna include it in the posting for the next hearing, that part, or are we gonna remove it now? Do we want to keep it in and see if we get more feedback, or do we want to remove it?
One person. But, you know, it might be nice that you include one of ours.
Yeah, so you say keep everything the way it is right now, acknowledging the edits that we need, we're probably gonna make.
Yeah, keep the list of things we need to do. We'll see what happens at the next meeting.
So we don't have to change it twice.
Right, and then at the end of that, we consolidate everything.
I think part of that is we should have that, make a decision on whether to adopt that change at the next meeting.
Right, yeah.
Not just,
Well, the way it works, any substantive change has to happen now. After you have a second hearing, you really. You're just,
But we can remove it.
yeah,
We can remove it at the next hearing.
yeah, we just can't make any.
We can't. Make-
substantive
You
change.
can't bring something.
Taking something out is fine, but
Take it out.
changing the meaning of something is not.
Right.
So is everybody okay with the changes that we went through in the solar or,
yes,
With it.
okay? So I'll make those changes to the solar and we'll have a new version for the next meeting to decide on.
I mean, did we solve the
We,
issue of
we did not.
the site plan review? That's a pretty big.
That is a big question. Yep.
Are we gonna have it be part of our, or reference it in our site plan review? How are we gonna handle that? What's the best way to do it? That's a big,
I'm not really in favor of breaking up the ordinance.
No.
It seems messy, especially if we're gonna manage it in the future. I'd rather it all be in one section and be referenced. Just
So,
the personal opinion.
the goal
but-
would be to amend our zoning to reference the zoning package, the solar ones, yeah.
And maybe amend our site, say see also.
Oh, sorry. I guess I was.
She's
where-
talking about whether or
wherever-
not to pull it out of this.
Pull out that
Yeah.
piece of it and put it in the site plan.
I don't like that. My
Yeah,
personal-
yeah, I don't think we should do that, but
Okay.
I'm not against moving the whole document into the zoning ordinance either. But I think those are two separate things.
Yes.
Okay, Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Point of clarification. It's just been a while since I've reviewed the procedures, right? And the timing. So where something goes in an ordinance, probably not substantive, but I would think the creation of an overlay district is a substantive change. And so if you leave that in what you present at the next hearing, I'm worried that you would not have enough time to have a third hearing whereby you would take that piece out if that was something you were going to do, because that would be a substantive change to what you're presenting. So at the second hearing, if you bring it in and you say, this is what we're proposing, we want to add this overlay district in, and then you decide at that meeting that you do want to remove that, then you have to have time for another hearing, because that would be a substantive change to what you're bringing forward.
But I.
Yeah, I
assume
Not-
bring it once.
Yeah, we've removed stuff before and not had.
At the 11th.
Yeah.
Right, the substantive
Yeah.
change is it changes the meaning. We're not changing the meaning, we're just getting
We're
rid of
not
it.
presenting
Yeah.
it.
Right,
We'd be able to remove it at the next hearing.
yeah, we've done this before. This is substantive is
That does-
from what we have
No?
heard from legal
Fuzzy.
and Southwest, substantive is adding basically or completely changing the meaning of an existing. We can't add stuff and we can't change the meaning of what's there, but we can take stuff out though.
I'm also fine with voting on it tonight too. If others feel like they can.
Want to take a poll? Who wants to vote on it tonight? Russ,
This is on the overlay
on
district.
the overlay?
I would rather see it come up at the next meeting, and just hear if anybody else has anything to say. I mean,
Yeah, and then we can always remove it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're not gonna add more to it.
No.
Right.
But I just think it would be nice to have more than one person in every comment.
I'm leaning towards removing it, but I could be convinced, I suppose, but you know,
Well, my personal, I'm not really in favor.
Mhm.
Yeah. It just, it seems like spot on, we pick one spot, I said that before. But I still think we should have a few more people at least comment.
That's exactly what I think. I'm not really in favor of it either. I'm pretty neutral on it.
Mhm.
But why are we going to take it out before the next group has any chance to
Mhm.
comment? on it? Assuming, well, nobody's going to show up, but hey.
Yeah.
And that's the date of the next one, because that wasn't published. Is it just at your next meeting?
No, it would be the second meeting in January.
Second,
It has to be noticed and all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
it will.
yeah, we're not doing it over the, I'm not.
Hmm.
I'm hoping to take some time off.
I feel the same way as, you know. I'm not married to leaving it in there, but I want to make sure we get the most input before striking it.
But we're not getting real strong feedback to leave it in there. So I'm
No.
not sure that,
If you-
that waiting another meeting matters if everybody's generally feeling not sure about it.
I think that the point is leaving it in there as to obtain that feedback at the next meeting. If we strike it now, there is no opportunity for feedback at the next meeting.
Right.
It's not in there anymore.
Right. Small possibility of more feedback. at the
Yeah,
next
I mean,
meeting.
I think all of us agree that there's not likely to be, you know,
It sounds like
I
we
guess that's my point,
Yeah.
then, because
but again, by voting it out tonight doesn't give us an opportunity for
yeah.
a few more people to chime in from the residents from the town, even though we know unless anything changes, it seems like the consensus is we'll probably remove it.
Yeah, and I just was gonna add that I personally emailed the Conservation Commission, Renewable Energy Task Force, Historic District Commission, and some other people to invite them to come to this meeting tonight.
Great.
So and does that mean that they're okay with what's being presented? I don't know.
I know.
Well, that
It's
is
just
their
like the-
responsibility, not
Oh,
ours.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if we're gonna wait until the next
And maybe they'll show
meeting to
up.
have people show up, I don't
Yeah, I
know.
know.
And I mean,
But we're tasked to have 2 meetings, right?
no, we don't have to have
No,
two
we
meetings.
don't.
Oh,
We are gonna have to have another one because we're making changes to the solar, but we can just do the solar if we leave everything else the way it is, but we could also just, leave it open.
I would just like to point out that earlier when we were talking about this, it seemed like there was somewhat of a consensus at the table. Maybe that was just my bias thinking that the language that is presented is not thorough enough to handle what is being proposed and that more work would need to be done anyway. So it felt like at that time that everybody recognized that even if you have this overlay district, there's not the accompanying language about how to manage that or what to do with it. And so more work would need to be done to really make that a viable piece. So why leave it on the table and have another meeting where you're discussing it when you know that it's not really ready to move forward?
Yep, so that's a good point. And so that would bring up the question. If we were to leave this on the table till the next hearing. Knowing all that, what Nicole just referred to, all the things that we had talked about. That it's incomplete. It's not, but the proposal has some things missing. Would we be able to add those things? Or would that be considered
Yeah,
a
That'd be
substantive?
substantive.
Right.
Right,
So to that point, I guess
so the things that, I think that you're referring to are governed by RSAs. So it's things that would be added, we should add now because they already apply to workforce housing. So if we don't have them in now and something came up, a workforce housing project, we don't have anything in place to manage that. But there are RSAs that tell us what to do. So we would refer to the RSAs. So anything additional that says who's going to manage it, all of that, there's RSAs that we would have to
So,
figure out quick.
so another way to look at it is there anything that we would have to do if we left it in before it made it to the town for a vote? If there isn't, then, I mean, if we feel that it needs more before it comes up to the town for a vote, do we have time to do that?
It's a little late for that.
I don't know what
Exactly.
we would add, and I don't know, Sarah, if you wanted to comment, but
It's on. I got it. Sorry, I just had to adjust my eyeballs. The proposed language is deliberately, I'm going to say vague, to leave it open for what may come. Because this is a town-owned property, that was intentional, because nothing can happen on this property without approval of the town. So if the property were sold, which would also require the approval of the town,
Not in Temple. The select board can sell it
Oh.
whenever they want.
We adopted whatever RSA it is that gives us authority to dispose of town property without a vote.
do you still have to have a public hearing?
Nope.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
It's a thing here in Temple. I mean, you wouldn't do it,
No, we
Without-
wouldn't do it. but
without tar and
Right.
feathers, but,
All it takes is a
but-
vote of the select.
but you
board.
technically can, the selectmen can.
And they have sold.
Well, we did it for a purpose. We had some lots we wanted to sell.
And you had support
Right.
from the town. Yeah.
Well, just to speak to that, I don't know what we would change in this in the time that's allowed between now and when it would need to be reposted for the next public hearing that could satisfy those questions, because this was, again, deliberately open-ended so that the town could choose to pursue development or the town could be open to proposals
Right.
and then discuss how it would be managed following that rather than being built into the zoning.
Right. There's no way we can come up with wording that's going to cover every possible use we might come up with on this.
And if you
Overlay
decided to pursue something like that, you could put out an RFP that said, here's what we
Have. come-
are
let us
looking
know.
for specifically for this property. So that's a way to control it.
Yeah. Now, on the other side, we don't need to set up this until we do have somebody saying, or we have an idea or somebody else has an idea, we want to do this thing, then we can set it up. The only danger being there's going to be a year plus delay, potentially.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
Yeah. So that's why I'm really pretty neutral on this thing.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
It's not something that's gonna happen quickly.
I would just also add that as the property owner, you don't have to have something in the zoning that tells you how to develop that property.
Mhm.
If you are allowed to develop it in a way, you can choose whatever type of agreement the town wants to enter into.
Sure.
And it doesn't need to be in the zoning.
Right.
Well, it's certainly a unique situation.
Mhm.
And I think,
I think, I don't know, I mean, my sense of the resistance was there's a fear that something really ugly is gonna go on that land. Is that a fair assumption? No, okay, that's, kind of what
I
I
think the abutter.
The abutter.
The abutter.
would express that.
Yeah.
What's
So-
I'm still struggling to catch the difference between this overlay and just having a PRD in workforce housing. What was the benefit here? More units?
You wouldn't have the open space requirement,
So you could have potentially,
More units.
but you're still limited by the land.
the land itself is,
Mhm.
and water and sewer and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Right.
Slope and wetlands and everything else still applies.
Sarah has a chime in.
It would also not limit the property to exclusively housing. As it's municipal property, if you were to develop a PRD right now, that's all you could do with it. But with the overlay district, you could have other uses as well outside of where the housing could be built,
Right, like the solar thing that they.
like the solar or what have you.
Yeah, we could build a town swimming pool and a solar array and a housing
Yeah,
Right.
in something else.
you could shoot the moon with the property.
It'd be a multi-use property.
Put a McDonald's in there.
With the drive-through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Temple Pizza.
New York style.
Mhm. All right, well, I guess, I mean, the big question I think right now would be, what's it gonna hurt to wait
Right.
till the next hearing to then say, which seems like the inevitable, we're not gonna include this, we're gonna table it. What can that hurt to wait a few weeks and
Nothing.
not vote to take it off tonight?
Nothing.
I mean, I'm on the fence, but I'm leaning towards taking it off. I think all of us probably are close to feeling that way, so. But I guess the question is it gonna hurt to leave it for right now? I don't think so.
It's hard, because I personally, I think it's a good idea, but I don't have any strong opinions on now or in the future, looking at it again.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes, I think we would probably do this if we had a reason to do it, we would do it. So do we need to, I'm not talking about taking it off now, I'm talking about whether or not we keep it in at all. It just seems like we can always decide next year or the year after or whenever we want to establish one when we have a need to establish it. But as for keeping it in, I'm in favor of keeping it in until the next meeting, not because I want it to be in, but people should have an opportunity to.
That's my point,
about it.
my stand.
Sounds like that's where we're.
That's what I'd like to go out with.
I mean, we're having the discussion now, so it seems appropriate for us to just vote, but if we want to have this discussion again in a couple.
I mean, you can
weeks,
make a motion.
Yeah,
I make a motion to remove the workforce housing overlay district.
There a second.
that's cool.
Okay, well.
But it's gonna, and you're gonna get your vote in 3 weeks. Probably, most likely. Mike, Mr. Barrett, did you have it? I know you came in, anything on housing or anything? Okay. Oh, okay, Mike,
Thank you.
thanks for coming.
Can we go back to the solar thing just to make sure I'm clear? We're gonna keep section B referencing primary use in this ordinance, is that correct?
Not in the site plan review.
No, we're not gonna move it to site plan review.
Right, right, staying where it is.
Okay,
And then we're gonna reference, for moving forward, we're gonna amend our site plan review to reference our solar ordinance.
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And vice versa.
And in the zoning ordinance.
And yes. Site plan review and zoning.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's the way.
Because this document already references site plan review.
It does.
Yeah, so that's covered.
Yep.
Now it's a matter of when you go to our site plan review ordinance, there has to be some reference to our solar ordinance.
If you're doing solar.
Yeah.
References.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and if next year we look again at that large scale development and infrastructure and utilities, that's where the reference would be.
Makes sense.
Okay. For special exception.
Yeah. For a reference then to the other. In here, special.
Special exception criteria. Okay.
Sarah, did we miss anything? Well, for anything in general, for the whole hearing, we're technically, the hearing's still open, I guess, right?
Yes.
Right.
We made one small observation about the solar ordinance, and it's not a comment here, it's just an observation. If and when or where we move things around, it changes the authority in granting relief. So right now, your solar ordinance, any relief that somebody seeks would be a variance. And there would be demonstration of hardship and that kind of thing, where if you move parts of it to the site plan regulations, then that would just be a waiver that the planning board grants. And I just wanna keep you guys aware of the processes.
Okay.
Personally, I have no opinion about what any of this stuff is, but just for you guys to, whatever your intention is, just make sure it matches the process.
It's a good observation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
didn't even think about that.
Yeah, well, the lawyer did. Apparently. Yep. She wasn't trying to make it more complicated. Or cumbersome.
You're gonna have to revise a lot of other language within that, because you might confuse people into thinking that's something that really is granted by the planning board. The driveway regulations, well, actually, I haven't read the driveway regulation lately, but typically some of those stand separate than zoning ordinance, relief is granted either through the road agent or the planning board, not the ZBA. So Again, I don't think it matters, it should just be intentional.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So do we want to
Want to close the hearing?
close the hearing portion of the meeting?
Motion to
Yep.
close the hearing. We need a motion.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you can just do it.
I guess, okay, I call this,
There it goes.
I declare this hearing, now officially closed. Okay. So do we need to vote on anything else? We know we're having a public hearing for the
The second meeting.
second meeting. and
Yep,
it'll-
I will get revisions done between now and Friday, hopefully, so I can take time off. Since holidays. And send that out and be ready to go for our next meeting.
Sarah, thank you you're welcome to stay, but yeah, that's why I still wanted to say thank you and Merry Christmas and goodbye and all that. Yes, thank you so much. So we might not see you for 3 weeks.
So,
Yeah.
the meeting on the day. Why don't you be here for that, and like, maybe one?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I feel bad about having you come all the way over here.
I
for
would
that.
too, and then, but now watch 15 people show up and
Yeah.
ask all the tough questions that only she knows the answers to.
Well, no, our next meeting is
Yeah,
not a hearing,
that's
Yes.
something.
so
Yeah.
that's January.
For
6th.
next meeting, okay,
Yeah.
yes, so the
So-
hearing, we would probably like her to come back for the second meeting. in
I
January.
think so.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, yeah, you don't need to come for our
Yeah,
first meeting.
January 6th.
No,
Okay,
I don't think we're going to. We'll see you on,
Whenever it is.
2 weeks after that.
yeah. Yeah, we'll see you on, well, the first meeting's January 5th.
6,
Sorry,
isn't it 6?
yeah, I have done 2027. January 6th, so we will see you on the 20th. Probably.
Thank you.
Okay, so where were we? The training for the GIS tax maps?
I don't,
Is that where
we've reached out to CAI about doing a training, and Russ offered to do one
Right.
on the new maps, so.
Yeah. So how is that gonna look when we do that? How do you think that, how are we gonna?
Is this just training for anybody that shows up?
I would start with, I think, the planning board first, so we can
Yeah, and we
get a
can
good handle.
record it.
Somebody's
Yeah.
laptop there.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's sort of intuitive, and I'm just a button presser, so I just press all the buttons and figure out what they do. but-
Yeah.
How long
Yeah.
time do you think that we could spend on that? So a half hour? Yep, good. Do we wanna do that for the first meeting in January? I don't, we
Yeah,
don't have, any-
shouldn't
we don't
have too
have,
much.
we don't have anything else on the agenda, so, really. Okay. We'll do that then, Kathy. Russ training. Perfect. And then, so Christine did the town report draft.
And so basically I went through and looked at all of our meeting minutes for the last year and found the common themes, and that's what I came up with. But if I've missed anything, let me know, or if there's any typos. In particular, like on the next page, what things to look forward to. Those were just some things that came out of minutes as I was reading them. I don't know if I got everything or anything needs to be added, but.
If I've seen it, I haven't read through it.
Yeah.
but
Okay,
let
we
me
don't
know.
have to do it right now. We can,
will
I
let
sent it
you
today.
know.
One thing that we talked about was in light of what happened with the whole Morninglight Farm PRD. I think we talked about we're gonna try to simplify or streamline our our PRD application process and just the whole way that all
Mhm.
happens. So it really gonna be important if this, all the zoning passes, because PRDs might become a little bit more prevalent. And, you know, we should probably make it a little bit more user friendly and a little bit easier for us to understand and.
Well, if it
The
took
whole-
that much time for that little tiny,
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Right. Like 20.
Yeah, so and you know, I say that we're gonna have time to do that because it doesn't seem busy, but then something always happens, but we're not foreseeing any grants this year or any.
No.
Working with Southwest or master plan updates
just the
or
floodplain stuff.
floodplain, yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna have a year where we're actually not gonna do master plan updates, or have a year where we're. You know, we're not gonna have all this HOA, not
Mhm.
HOA, hop grant work. So, you know, it's gonna be the first year in a while that we've actually had some time we can actually look at some other things.
Yep.
So
From
we've been a busy board.
Subdivision.
We've been a busy board.
Yeah.
I mean, this board's been
Check.
crazy busy for several years, thanks to Christine.
yes.
Yeah.
from a new person.
Well, we've got a lot accomplished. I mean, it's more accomplished than, you know, I mean, look at just this year. I was reading what you did and, you know, it's a lot.
I remember the old days when we accomplished nothing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there were 45-minute meetings. Yeah. Yeah.
From
It's a good thing
new
or a bad
person
thing.
perspective,
Some of it was good.
we rely on an awful lot on
Yes.
corporate knowledge.
Yes.
And having checklists and procedures well written would definitely benefit somebody like me,
Mhm.
because
Yeah, so that's the rules of procedure, I think.
Rules of procedure.
It's in there.
Yep.
Yeah, so I can
Yeah.
specify subdivision regs and
Mhm.
add that to the list. The other thing is, and I don't know if this is a question for you, but I did not acknowledge Brian. And I felt like maybe that's something that you might wanna,
Yeah, well, I
Right,
mean,
Brian,
Bruce,
Bruce.
his term expired in March and new member was elected. I think they're gonna put something in the town report for him.
Okay,
I was told they were going to. I hope they do.
Who's writing it?
I don't know, but we probably should get on that pretty quick. Somebody mentioned that they were gonna do it. I shouldn't just assume that that's gonna happen.
yeah, that's what I
But
wondered.
usually
Somebody needs to rate it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
send it in.
because
That might be you, Bruce.
We've been doing that.
Totally
Yeah,
do
it's
it yourself.
probably called Joyce. She's gonna have me do it, but you know, that's what we've done. We've, you know,
Yeah.
Honey Hastings and just
Yeah, yeah.
Dick Benotti, people that have lived in town a long time.
Sure.
Certainly Brian fits that bill. So I would think that would be enough.
Okay,
Um,
well, I didn't know if you wanted to add
Yeah.
something or not, if it was gonna be in the town report already, but.
Well, it's not gonna be in there unless we get something
yeah, I read the deadline's when,
soon.
you know, like middle of January.
Yeah, at the latest.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, I'll have to,
Well, I just wanted to bring it up
Yeah.
and you can,
yeah, well, so if it happens, I would say we don't need to do anything in the planning board report
okay,
if, you know, if
if it's gonna be a page or
Yeah,
something.
right.
Right.
Okay, dedications,
But thanks for thinking of that.
okay. So, yeah, like I said, it doesn't have to be, we don't have to agree on it tonight, just take a look at it and bring edits to the next meeting. And then the budget was the other thing I had, which, we got an, as of December 9th update to the budget. There were a couple things that looked a little off to me, so I reached out to Kara. One was the dues and subscriptions. There was, oh no, that was the Dropbox, never mind. So that one was okay. That one we got corrected, but the professional services line does not include the updates to the tax maps, and that's an error that will be
Okay.
corrected.
Send email to the BAC.
I sent it to Kara. She acknowledged that was in the wrong place.
It's just a shuffling.
It's under the warrant
Okay.
instead of
Yeah, yeah, right.
unprofessional
Right.
services. And then under legal services, there were charges, something for the ledger in there for 164. I don't know what that's not in the right line. And then also, the December invoice they submitted, I think is for the HOP grant related stuff, so that should be moved and come out of the HOP funds versus.
Yeah, let Karen know this.
And that gets us closer to our $1,500
Okay.
budget, so that gets us to 1603, so still a little bit over, but.
It's close enough.
It's closer. Yeah. So I just wanted to mention those budget stuff, and otherwise you said they approved our budget, except they are going to move that $3,000 annual charge for the tax map system to data process.
Data processing
Data.
services or whatever you
Different,
call it.
so it won't be under planning board, it will be in a
Right,
different
it will
place
be
for other
Where
data.
we pay all the other software
Mhm.
maintenance and subscription things.
Yep. That's all I have.
Okay,
Oh, and Randy's thing too, that happened in the last week. Jim's. So I think there's still a plan, Mylar down at the office for the Beals that has not been signed by you.
yes, because I went away on vacation, so.
Right.
But that's the copy that stays, or did we not deliver the
The
other?
Registry of Deeds does not have Pete Caswell's signature.
Should be 2 miles.
All right, so they would.
So is there a second?
So they would,
Should be 2 miles.
Yeah,
Cause John gave me second one,
a new one,
to a new one to bring down.
right, which is not signed by me yet, or.
Probably Pete.
Jim signed it. Pete signed it. Your signature was not on it.
So the key thing is, we have one in Nashua at the Registry of Deeds that wasn't signed by Pete.
Correct.
Then we requested a new Mylar.
Yep.
So down at the Temple offices right now should be a Mylar that is signed by
Pete
and Jim
and Jim.
and me. And then there's another one that I haven't signed yet. Have you signed that one, the new one?
I
Yes.
think so.
The one I saw
Yeah.
had those signatures
right.
except for yours.
So bottom line is, those two Mylars that are down there for Beal, one of them stays in Temple and the other one with all three signatures.
Yes.
Needs to go down to the registry.
Right.
So now, moving on to Randy's project,
So
Carol had a whole big pile of Mylars and I don't know if she took the Mylars out.
I can tell you what happened.
Okay.
So Jim went to the office,
Mhm.
saw that that one wasn't signed and took the Morninglight farm ones and filed those at the Registry of Deeds.
Were they signed by myself and Pete?
Yes,
Okay.
they were signed.
But were they the Temple copies too?
You only took one copy.
Right.
Okay, so
All right.
they're recorded, but it's not. Yeah.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
But we got a notice that they were.
Right.
Yes,
That's the email that came out today, right?
Right.
Yes.
right.
Right.
Oh, did we get an email that it was?
Well, I got one.
Oh, I didn't get that one.
Approved.
Oh, good. Well, that's
So the
good.
unique part about that,
That's what it said.
so the unique part about this whole Mylar thing with Randy's project is there was more than one Mylar.
Yes,
There was three, so it should have been 6 sheets. Three for Temple, 3 for the, it was confusing because it was more Mylars than you normally see.
Yeah, there's
Gonna say-
Mylars, but there were 2 different sheets. If I
Yes.
recall correctly.
So the only bad thing we did was is we just don't have DES approval yet from the state.
Well, we didn't have it.
Well, now we do today.
but now we do.
I believe I got an email out of my 100 emails a day.
That might be the one that I
said, Blah,
sent.
blah, blah,
They
registered.
can look that up to. That's
Okay.
easy to look up.
Okay, in any case, he paid cash when he filed Randy's.
So where are all the checks that Randy?
So so I took I went to the office and I picked up the checks and I went over to Randy's and I gave him back the checks that he had submitted and got new checks to cover the reimbursement for the $75 for the plans.
Mhm.
And I got a new check for 180 for the HOA documents and the waiver.
Mhm.
So I had those and I detailed this all in an email to Randy because it was very confusing. And then Nicole filed the HOA documents and the waiver herself. So I gave her back the $180 check for Randy because she paid for that. So I right now still have the $75 check made out to the town of Temple. So you will have to fill out a request for reimbursement, so Jim can get reimbursed for the cash that he paid.
So just to clarify, the way the whole thing transpired was, I recall from the meeting that we had plans that needed to go to the registry of deeds, and I was asked to take them. And that it was a second set of plans, so there would be no checks.
Yeah, that was the Beal. We were.
Right.
Yes,
we were
I
the Beal.
took the wrong plans, which is why I paid cash,
Right.
because I didn't expect there to be a check. So I totally screwed up the whole process.
Well,
So
it's
I
the
think-
curse of the Mylars lately. We've had.
They somehow had copy on them. Is that-
I hope not.
I've never heard of them being taught this. They're duplicates. There's no town.
Right, we never.
No,
Yeah. As long as we have a copy and the registry has a copy that.
yeah, so let's
Yeah.
make sure that there's a town
We
copy.
should make sure we have a town.
When you go down to sign Beal one.
Deal. I will make
Make
sure,
this morning.
Carol, that we have our copies of the Randy's, yes.
How did Stonegate ever get done if this is so hard?
Well.
Well, and I think that speaks to Russ's point
Stonegate.
earlier, that the whole thing was.
Yeah,
was
Stonegate.
And you know,
complicated.
I think I was on the board with that. It just seems so much easier. Things seems harder now. I don't know. It's just,
We need to figure that out.
it never seemed this difficult. It just didn't. Yeah.
For these other people, the attorney did the secondary document plan, which is what I went and did. That wasn't something, and last time I went to the statutes, that's not a requirement that the plan board has to do. So then, Randy was confused when he was being asked for a check for that. And I had instructed him not to sign.
Because he'd never done it before.
He
Yeah.
has. Right. He related the documents, which is what I was.
Right, right.
So making sure that that's the division of labor is.
Yeah, I think the order of events was confusing too, because, I think we were thinking that we would file it all at once,
and
Yeah.
just like as a courtesy.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I think one of our top agenda items for this year is gonna be, obviously it is gonna be, we're gonna do some mock PRDs and scenarios and what ifs and try to get this streamlined and a lot more user friendly
Right,
Yeah.
for,
right,
for the applicant and for the board.
right,
So I can
right,
tell you-
right, because it was painful at times.
When I went to the town, I kind of had the expectation that there would be somebody there that would say, here's what you need, here's what you gotta do. And it was timing, maybe part of it, but because Carol wasn't there, I think. But there wasn't anybody really there. The closest I had was Kathy, but she, between the two of us, anyways, the bottom line was I messed up.
Yeah, well, I could have had a note on there. I could have had a note on there with red Sharpie saying, do not file till DES approval.
Yeah,
See Bruce or something, right? So I mean, we can all take some blame.
the other thing.
It's a little bit of a broken system.
Yeah.
There's worse things for us that we could be doing wrong. I mean,
I don't know if you noticed or if you looked at the plan file on the website for the Registry of Deeds, but it lists in party 2. I don't,
It references like people and parcels that aren't even on the plan yet, so I don't know where.
I don't know how or what, I've never seen that before. So I talked to Randy this afternoon and said, is Nicole looking at this for you? Do you want me to make a call? Like, I don't know how to handle that. It's like,
That it's operated is in that field.
Yeah.
And then it open on the document and you go.
there's no reference. It's so weird. Yeah, so it basically lists like 15 roads in town in party 2, which is usually if there's a co-owner or if there's a sale.
Oh, yeah, right. Randy went totally overboard on that for some reason.
Randy, I don't know where they got the information.
Well, I mean, he put me on as the butter and I'm 2 miles away from the place.
It's usually listed others.
No, that's true. So, Yeah. Huh, interesting.
They're just road names.
Hmm.
Yeah,
On the locus map, something new, index it and just looked at all the roads on the locus map.
I don't know. So I guess whoever goes to the registry of deeds with the signed Beal documents maybe could ask that question unless it's something you guys want to address yourselves.
Or
Okay, yep, sure. So maybe that's something we can take a look at and see if we can
Randy not wanting to spend money.
figure that out for him, because it's the least we can do at this point.
So it's 9:05, so I want
Okay.
to push things along. So,
Sure.
real quick, Marsh Antique Automotive Restoration Facility. Bill, you would send an email out?
Yeah, we got chewed out by legal. There was a court requirement that they file within 30 days with both the ZBA and the planning board and get hearings scheduled. Well, that didn't happen, and it was our fault. So our lawyers, what they have done is basically say to the court, gee, sorry, we blew it. We waived that particular requirement. And we hope that's the end of it. But they should have gotten a hearing scheduled, regardless of our current processes or historical processes. It was a-
You mean a ZBA hearing?
And a planning board hearing within 30 days.
Really?
Yeah, by court order.
So Ben's, maybe, only thing I can refer to is, because the only time that I can remember somebody requesting a joint, site plan review, ZBA. What's the word? Special, yeah, it was Ben's. And the ZBA voted to not have the planning
Yeah,
board.
but there was not the courts involved. This was a legal order by a superior court judge that this happened. So,
So we should have been informed as a planning
Yeah.
board that that was a requirement.
yeah. But anyway,
So now we just wait.
I think all I did was give them more time to delay. So it didn't affect the outcome of anything unless the judge gets particularly annoyed at us for some reason, which isn't likely.
Well, and then other business, March 2026 ad zoning note,
That was related to the
Oh.
all-purpose storage.
all-purpose storage, right? So do we need to do anything?
I don't think,
We want them to not lose track of that. Do you want me to put future things in a section of the agenda, or do you all just want to keep track of them and like let me know when you want to talk about them at the next meeting?
At the moment, we don't have a lot on our agenda. There was a time when we really did, and it was confusing, and there was some things that maybe just needed to be earmarked in a different way, but but this, or bookmarked in a different way, this, we do want to address this.
yeah,
As like this spring, like right away.
mm-hmm.
So I guess I would just leave it. I think Kathy just,
Items or some kind of title, and then have that be subset and like put the procedures under there as well.
Okay, we gotta just keep remembering.
yeah.
That historically, wouldn't that be old business? Carrying old.
It is kind of old business, yeah.
That's the way the planning,
Yeah.
the select board would do that.
Yeah.
But the problem is our old business list is,
Yeah,
A lot of items, yeah.
so maybe it should be a to-do topic there or something.
Right, because you're maybe not talking about it at every
Yeah.
meeting.
Right.
Yeah, well, we had this situation where we had, for 2 years, we had driveway regulations down there.
Right,
And we said, well, wait, why are we leaving this on here?
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what, at the select board meeting, old business, nope, not this time, not this time, not this.
Yeah.
20 items, yeah.
I think that tabled,
We're,
tabled business
we're
or.
putting that down.
All right, that's it.
Okay.
Everybody-
Second.
Second,
Hey, Carter?
yes,
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 Yes.
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 Meeting adjourned.
thanks for coming.
What happened to Powers Road? No.
I'm not sure if it's, yes, he may be talking about the one that just acknowledged that it was submitted.
Everything. Kent says